Are you looking for a used SUV that says you're as sensible as a Roth IRA? Well, today we are taking a look at the 2013 Toyota Highlander, and we're going to decide if it's a buy or if it's a bust. That's right, this Toyota Highlander behind me has over 150,000 miles on it. It is now 11 years old. Toyota is known for reliability, and they have been reviewed very well so far on my channel, with only one bust so far. Let's see today if this Toyota Highlander can keep up with the tradition of good, reliable Toyotas, and we're going to go over the common problems, the good, the bad, the ugly on this car. Starting up front on the outside, I gotta say, these are the typical boring Toyota styling. I don't notice much paint wear. There is the typical headlight wear and oxidation up front. I did not see any rust to speak of. Now, of course, there is some dings and some dents all the way around. This is a family car that is now a little bit older, so those are to be expected. The chrome shines nice. The wheels are in good shape. I don't see any abnormal clear coat wear, anything like that. There's a little scrape there on the back. But really, overall, I am impressed with how this has held up. I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed or anything to really look out for on the outside of these, other than if you're in the Northeast, it's still a good idea to check them out for rust. Under the hood here, we got a 3.5 liter V6 that makes 270 horsepower, 248 pound-feet of torque, which are pretty good numbers for this class of vehicle. Now, Toyota has used this engine in a couple other vehicles, and it does have some common problems, even though it's pretty reliable. Most of the problems with this engine come back to oil-related issues. One is you really do need to maintain this engine regularly with oil changes. That is because there is a VVT gear inside that gets worn down if you do not change your oil regularly. These engines do have a tendency to build up sludge, so you want to do at least every 5,000 miles for your oil changes. The other oil-related issue on this engine is a leak. Now, this leak is usually around the timing chain cover. It's a pretty common problem with these, so look at the side of the engine or underneath, and you will notice that there's drips of oil or just a very greasy side of the engine. This engine is running pretty smooth and quiet in this particular Highlander, and I don't see those leaks present. What I do notice is some noise around the belt area, so there's a pulley or a tensioner that's making some noise under here. One of the other things that is not oil related is coil packs have a tendency to go bad at higher mileage, as do the O2 sensors. Those are semi-common issues across all manufacturers, but you're going to want to look out for them on this. It's one of the reasons that your check engine light will come on, along with things like evap codes, which are typical as well, but fairly common on these at higher mileage. One other electronic thing is the knock sensors on these also tend to create a check engine light. Not a huge deal, not a crazy thing to replace, but they are pretty common. Another leak that I didn't mention yet is the water pump. The water pump has a tendency to leak on these as well, so you're going to want to look out for that if you see any coolant leaks. The 5-speed transmission on these is pretty reliable. I don't have much to say about it. What I do have to say about is the front and rear differential. This is an all-wheel drive model, and those have a tendency to leak gear fluid as well. On the interior of the Highlander, now this is a family vehicle, so there is going to be some wear and tear from that, but actual like manufacturer things that I would look out for, there really isn't too much. This is a pretty solid but basic interior. As far as interior layout, style, all that stuff, I'm good with it. There is nothing great here. There's nothing terrible here. It is hard plastic. It is not an expensive feeling car at all. It feels very basic. Definitely not going to mistake it for a Lexus or a luxury car. One of the things I did notice wear and tear is the knob for the AC climate control is broken off in here, and the other ones feel pretty cheap as well. I will say the door covers for your cup holder and your change area in here feel better than other Toyota vehicles. That's one of the things that I've noticed across a bunch of different Toyotas, that those break. They're just made out of cheap, junky plastic. These ones are okay, and they actually feel pretty solid. One thing that you do want to look out for, because it's a problem on this car and across some other ones, is door lock actuators. The locks will start messing up, be intermittently working. It's generally the door lock actuator inside your door panel. I'm not terribly worried about that. They're cheap to replace, but it is something that's somewhat common. Other than the door actuators, all the electronics work as intended inside here. AC, windows go up and down, all of those things are working well. This one is equipped with an older Toyota GPS, which obviously at this point is quite outdated, but that's going to be across any car of this age. In the back seat here, and I gotta say, it is quite spacious back here, especially for a still somewhat smaller 3-row SUV. Lots of legroom, lots of headroom. You're not gonna have any space issues back here if you're in one of the two side seats. The middle seat is one of the skinniest and most uncomfortable seats I've been in virtually any car. There's plenty of width here, so you could kind of fit, but the actual seat itself is a joke. It would not be comfortable to sit there for any length of time. I don't even think for a small child it would really be comfortable. So Toyota really dropped the ball, I think, on the design of this middle seat. On the positive things, though, Toyota did put rear climate control back here, which I think is a nice touch for the passengers in the back seat. On the road now in the Toyota Highlander. We're just about to pull out and get on it here for the first pull of the day. I'll tell you, for 270 horsepower, it feels okay. It does feel like maybe it needs another gear. This is only a 5-speed, and I don't always love 6 speeds, but this does feel like one that could use a 6-speed transmission instead. We got no lights on the dash, anything like that. There is not a ton of suspension wear issues that I would be concerned about on these, but you're going to run into that in any car when you get up to 150,000 miles. I don't notice any clunks. The steering is tight. Brakes feel good so far in this Highlander. Now, Toyota does make a 4-cylinder of this, and basically the consensus is do not buy it. I have not driven one. I would like to drive one someday, but everyone says they are wildly underpowered. In this configuration here, the Highlander tows 5,000 pounds, which I actually think is quite respectable for a not full-size SUV. So that would be great if you needed to tow the boat or something like that, or a small camper for the weekends. Fuel mileage on these runs about 18 and 25, which 25 on the highway for this size of vehicle I actually think is quite respectable, especially 270 horsepower. I have no problems with that at all. I think Toyota did a good job. It's not wildly great, but it is pretty solid. We are on curvy, bumpy back roads, and I will say the steering, all of that stuff, is the typical Toyota boring sort of thing where I don't think much about it one way or the other. I don't think, wow, it's great. I don't think it's, oh my goodness, this thing is terrible. Now, we did recently review the Venza, and that one was surprisingly lackluster is what I will say. And this is a much better, more traditional experience here. Now, this Highlander is a 2013, which is the last of this generation of Toyota Highlander. And there is one thing, because we're kind of covering multiple years here, that I do need to mention, and that is oil cooler lines on the earlier generations. Toyota did take care of it by 2013, but there was a very common ruptured, faulty oil cooler line on the earlier ones. And you definitely want to look out for that, because you would be driving down the road and not know that your car is pouring out oil potentially. So you want to make sure that that has been updated. I have heard also that the aftermarket ones are very, very mediocre as well, and they get pinholes pretty quickly. So they say go with the updated Toyota part and you should be good forever. While I am enjoying the driving, it is fine. There is nothing that's standing out to me really one way or the other. The more I am in this interior, while it's functional, it feels cheap. I know this is not the highest end. It doesn't have leather, those things, but the dash and everything inside here is just cheap plastic. And it just feels that way. You feel like you're in a sort of a bargain car, which is really not too much Toyota space. Not that, you know, Lexus is their premium brand, but I am surprised that they chose to use so much hard plastic and just make it as basic as it is. Back from the road test, and now it is time to decide if this is a buy or if it is a bust. I gotta say, there's a lot I like about the Toyota Highlander. I think the size is right for most people, most families. It's all-wheel drive, very capable. The fuel mileage is respectable, not great, but respectable. You're getting Toyota reliability, even though there's a few things you gotta keep up with. Most can be solved by regular maintenance, and the fixes are generally not expensive if you get into having to make some actual repairs. The prices on these are somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 nowadays, and I think that's actually a pretty good price for what you're getting here. That's why today we are going to call the Toyota Highlander a buy. It is not often that I go against Toyotas because they are so reliable. Their reputation is what it is for a reason, and I would have no issues picking one of these up for friends or family or recommending that they buy one. If you have a Toyota Highlander, let me know your thoughts. If you agree, disagree, I want to hear the problems that you've had. If there's something that I missed in this video, I'd love to hear about it. Put your comments down below. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so